It seems like the Free Lil Durk campaign is about to start. And the innocent Lil Durk campaign is fully on its way after you hear this. But if you've been here, you already know what this man about to say is something I've already been saying.
Update. The trial has been pushed to August 2026. If you listen to the noise, all you're going to hear is Durk is cooked. Nobody's there for Durk. Motion denied. But that's just the noise. The fact of the matter is his trial team has won a number of points in this case. The indictments, there's been 3 indictments, and each time the allegations against Durk have thinned out. Some of the evidence that they wanted to use has actually been withdrawn so that the judge didn't have to exclude it. I'm going to take you through it piece by piece. I'll leave the best parts for the end. First, when they charged Durk, the main allegation about him rapping in his lyrics was this lyric about him going, told me they got an Addy, got location, green light, seen your son on the news screaming, no, no. Okay, that lyric. If you play that lyric, then you play the video of Quando next to the murdered victim, no, no, you would have won major points with the jury. That lyric's not in the indictment anymore because Findling showed that those lyrics were written well before the murder. Couple more points. When they bought this case, they said the conspiracy started in August 2022. That's when Durk arranged to get these rentals, these flights. That's when he made arrangements for the bounty. Then they switched that and they said, actually, the conspiracy started back when Von died in November 2020. And they had to do that because they needed to bring in more lyrics. They needed to bring in Instagram comments and the podcast comments to build that whole story because it wasn't enough to just show him paying shooters and show him renting cars. Maybe they're not going to be able to show all that. Let's extend it back. Let's give the jury a bigger story. They withdrew evidence of a 2022 incident in Chicago, which appears to have been them wanting to show that, hey, look, another time in Chicago back in 2022, he paid for people to go do violence. Well, they took that off the table and they said, hey, we're not going to talk about any of that. And here's the big one. When they charged Durk, they said in the indictment about the bounty that at the direction of defendant Durk Banks, Defendant Wilson, that's OTF Didi, would pay the bounty or monetary reward to the shooters. That's gone. We know OTF Didi Wilson is going to trial. So their main allegation on the bounty that Durk told Didi to pay the shooters is gone, and they're pivoting to another way to prove the bounty. What did they pivot to? They say the consideration, the thing Durk promised for the murder, was lucrative music opportunities with OTF, putting people in videos. That's their theory of the bounty payment. That is where you make your defense. The murder for hire statute requires quid pro quo. The murder has to be committed in exchange for something of economic value, not an after-the-fact gift, not something that you would have just happened anyway, not something you do normally as part of your business, an actual contract. Okay, and if all the government can do is point out that the shooters were in the music videos after the fact, a jury has a real question to answer about that was a murder contract or just some other part of a relationship between a lot of people who were connected in a lot of ways.
In his beginning point, he don't know what the hell he's talking about. So the no part is because the feds tried to introduce a fan edit video that added Quando Rondo screaming. That's in the actual indictment. That's why I don't really like the Cape Crusader lawyers that come on. But his lawyer logic does work. But in that instance, in the beginning, what he said, oh no, Lil Durk said, no, that was written before. Yeah, the feds were still trying to push for it. They just dropped it and decided we're going to push it back further so we can add in other lyrics. But before we get started on this one fully, hit that QR code and tap that link in the description and mess with free cash with Seti Nash. Number 2 app in the Apple Store and the number 3 in the dog on Google Play Store. For a reason, read the reviews before you download. And when you download, with that QR code or that link in the description, you're going to get $5 in your account on Nash. You can make up to $5 with free cash. Free cash, Seti Nash, the visionaries. Y'all already know what it is. So hit that QR code and tap that link in the description. Start getting paid to play today. Now, he's pointing out the simplistic part of everything. Y'all said in this indictment, actually, Didi had the money. I told y'all, Didi didn't pay a goddamn penny. Oh, well, okay. Well, he didn't pay anything. All right, so what happened to the bounty? Oh, no, there actually wasn't no bounty. It's actually, Lil Durk said, I'm going to sign y'all if you go ahead and you do that crap. All right. Oh, but I'm not going to sign y'all just yet. You got to get in the back and wave these signs that look like mascots. So the whole theory shifted from, oh, there was money to be paid. That money got paid at a burger shop in LA to now before, oh, well, Didi was going to pay the money and we were going to pay him, to now it's all about music opportunities. But the music opportunities is, oh, he got these cats in the music videos. And I said, if Drew Fillon can show that some of these cats been in freaking music videos before, that destroys a little weak ass point. But he said he got something interesting to show us. Do you believe that? Hit that like button like you like something. Force us into the algorithm. We are back, baby. The Visionaries. Let's go. Roll it.
Interestingly, at the same time that the government pivoted from saying Didi paid the shooters to saying, hey, it was putting people in music videos, they also added a fallback charge. So when they bought the case, the original indictment, there was no stalking charge. In the second superseding indictment against Durk, they added a stalking charge. And the stalking charge is important because it doesn't require any contract. No quid pro quo, no bounty, no payment theory. You can add that charge and simply prove that, hey, he was telling people to go do this. He didn't necessarily pay them to go do a murder, but he was telling them to go follow that guy. He was telling them to go stalk that guy. And a jury can look at it and say, a lot like in the Diddy case, that, hey, not exactly sure here. Very, very, very suspicious individual over here. I'm going to go ahead and hit him with the lesser charge. And so, when the government puts in that fallback charge later in the case, that tells you that they're not 100% sure on their theory, that they acknowledge that, hey, we need to have a fallback here. Keep an eye out for a couple things. One, the motion for an anonymous jury is still hanging out there. That means that the jurors go in there and their identities and names and addresses are not revealed. If that motion gets granted, it's going to change the complexion of this case significantly, because if you're a juror and you go in there and the judge tells you, hey, we're going to keep everything confidential and your identity secret because this is a dangerous case, well, you might rule a certain way based on hearing that information. The other thing to keep an eye out for, not all of the lyrics have been ruled on. A lot of the lyrics, especially those lyrics that have to do with bounties, the judge said, hey, when we get to closer to trial and I see how the government is going to try to prove a bounty, that's when I'll decide whether these lyrics about bounties are relevant. One thing to keep it a buck, and just to not sugarcoat it, the lyrics that Durk has out there about slide for Vaughn, got it back in blood, you just don't know, that's how it's supposed to be. The podcast comments about, I just don't be hearing those comments anymore about sliding for Vaughn. All that stuff is in. All that stuff is incredibly damaging to Durk. Had those things not been released into the public record, my God, this would be a much easier case to defend. All that being said, Durk trial, August 2026, this will be a trial for the ages.
Now, he said something in that video that I didn't catch, and that's why, he's an actual lawyer. I'm just a hood lawyer, but I do a pretty dang good job at this shit I do here. He talked about the freaking stalking charge, which jumps from 5 years to 10 to 20 years to life if death actually occurs. Let's take a look at the actual sentencing. Federal stalking charges, 18 U.S.C. 2261A, generally carry a sentence of up to 5 years in federal prison for standard cases, but this can increase significantly based on the severity of harm. If the victim suffers serious bodily injury or a dangerous weapon is used, the penalty can be up to 10 to 20 years, and it can be up to life in prison if the victim dies. All right, cool. So there's that. Right. And that's why, and I didn't catch on to this, and my bad for y'all for not catching on to this. I know y'all be like, Nash, you're supposed to catch on to certain things. So if you want to throw tomatoes in the chat, Abby, for not figuring that one out first or before, then that's fine. Tomatoes in the freaking comment section is cool. Because at the end of the day, they're fighting like hell for that stalking charge. I'm looking like, damn, bro, like, all right. Because I'm thinking in my head, like, yo, Mando life is off the table with the stalking charge, which it is. But also that stalking charge is an actual life sentence as well. So the government's whole entire shit is really going to be trying to enforce that stalking charge. That's what they're trying to do. And I can prove it because they're going to bring in a prior act via a snitch who's going to have to prove. It ain't gonna be nothing about no goddamn music videos, none of that and anything like that. Because if they start saying, oh, these cats were rewarded for shooting at Quando Rondo before because of the shooting that happened in Georgia. All right, cool. But then 2 years afterwards, remember, they got caught 2 years afterwards of the freaking shooting, which means, yo, when did they get signed to OTF if they ever got signed to OTF? Sounds like they more than likely didn't. And if that's the case, then the feds are basically taking the words of snitches and saying, yo, this is a theory. We just gonna see if it works. To me, I think the feds know that they don't have a winning case. I believe the feds just saying, you know what? The theory sounds good. It sounds believable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and say, let's do it. Let's do it. F it. This sounds good enough. We're going to go ahead and do it and see if it actually works. That's what it sounds like to me. Because think about it this way. You just came up with 3 different arguments while still holding me in jail in the freaking, what the hell is his name? The doggone judge almost gave Durk bond if Durk would have kept it real about the money. Think about that. So when they say that shit, I don't know. We're going to see. Because I'm with him on the part of the anonymous jury. I'm like, bro, if they allow anonymous jury, bro, that's going to bam his ass off the rip. It just is. It just will. It just will. It just will. I'm not sorry to say this shit. But he kept it real at the end too, bro. Some of the lyrics that got let in are bad. The DJ Academics freaking interview is bad. But they get to use that same shit. So if I'm Drew, I've not spoken to Drew. But if I'm Drew, I'm looking at lyrics that I can introduce that basically, like, yeah, Durk said this and he said that, but he also said he knows somebody who does this. He knows somebody who does that. The way that he raps is in hyperbole and BS. It's made up. Some of this shit is satire. Some of this stuff is whatever it is. And I would even say, growing up around here, you guys are acutely aware of rappers who have been rapping about this, and this. Well, this rapper rapped these lyrics. He didn't do shit. This rapper rapped these lyrics. He didn't do shit. You guys are from California, Southern California, the birthplace of gangster rap. And y'all know as well as I do that these rappers are only rapping about a lifestyle that they do not live, ones that they sing. So the Stephon Mack killing being thrown out of there, bro, I think that's a doozy. But I think the trial ultimately boils down to cross-examination. It wouldn't surprise me if the damn feds flew in like 15 goddamn officers and the federal judge said, yeah, y'all gonna have to knock that down to 10. That's really their main thing. Their main thing is to get a cop up there and play like he's a freaking expert. And then it's going to be up to Drew and the team to tear down that damn officer. That's what's going to have to happen. I know some of y'all, hear this shit and y'all be like, oh, Sonny Nash, you paid off, bro. All this shit. I get it. There's little weird ass propaganda against Lil Durk. There's stupid ass people who don't know how to read, who make up conspiracy theories, who out here scamming people and shit, talking about, oh, bruh, Lil Durk snitched on King Von. Let me ask y'all a question. Just a simple question. If you snitched on somebody and the charges got dropped on that person that you snitched on, how the hell does that work? How the hell does that work? I'm just curious. If you told on somebody and their charges are dropped, then yours get dropped, and then the other person who's in there, his shit get dropped. Doesn't make sense. Let me tell y'all something. If a snitch got involved in a crime and he tells on the crime, like Cornelius Smith, check out the video at the end, you still go to jail because you're saying what you did in the crime. So when y'all hear dumbasses and idiots who don't know what they talking about when they say shit like that, please use logic over emotion if you can. If not, this shit say, hell nah, Nash, I'm going to put on my goddamn conspiracy cap and you can't tell me nothing. If that's the case, then that's the case. It is what it is. But truth of the matter is, I spoke to Durk's lawyer. We had that conversation. Y'all seen the video. It is what it is. But hey, subscribe, turn on bell, stay notified. 24K away from giving these goddamn things away. That's at 300K subs, which means you gotta like every video, comment on every video, and share every video. Cornbread. Click right here. He is telling again. This time it look like he's aiming for the feds. Yeah, click right here to see this exclusive, baby, video right here. Or click right here for the playlist and get you through your day.